some really important, got it. It's being live streamed. All right. I want to start with some context that matters, because our context matters. There we go. All right. All right. Sorry about that. It always does that where it starts talking in my head. All right. So I'm going to share this picture here with you. And it's a pretty compelling point, right? The picture paints 1,000 words. This is context matters is what this is called. And it's very true. From back here, from our angle, we can see exactly what we need to see. But everybody who's in just seeing their little box just sees their little box. I feel the way it is. A lot of us, for all of us, because there's a certain sense of we feel like we're in our own world and we can't always see what everybody else sees. But I want to share a scripture for context because we always have to remember. I mean, you're on this call today because I'm assuming you're looking for how to grow, how to build your team, how to add more people, and as leaders in the church, we have to make sure that we are knowing what our narrative is, knowing what story we're in, knowing the context. So context matters. 1 Corinthians 15 says this, verse 57 and 58 says, "But thanks be to God. He gives us victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. And therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." Right? So as we're doing this work right now, as we're having this conversation about growing our team, adding people, we need to know we're not alone. The Lord is with us. The Lord gives us victory. We are given something to do. We are to stand firm. We are to be aware and reminded that we are fully loved. And we're supposed to give ourselves fully, because it's not going to be for nothing. Right? And I always say this, on a long enough timeline, leading worship and leading a worship ministry can get tiring. And so we need to remember, listen, we can give ourselves fully to what we're doing because the Lord is on our side. The Lord is working in us and he's working through us. And the work that we're doing is not in vain. It's not for nothing. All right. So if we don't have that context, we're just looking at one of those squares and we just see the elephant, we just see an ear, that's all we see. But we have to remember this is the story that we're in. So we'll start with that. And I have to say that asking the question, how do I find more musicians? How do I recruit better musicians? Is really kind of, I'll say it's the wrong question to ask. There's a better question to ask than that question. The question is, and this is inspired from an Entre Leadership podcast that I was listening to. It says the right question is, how can we become the team that the people that we're looking for are looking for? How can we become the team that the kind of people that we're looking for are looking for? And so, we could go about this so many different directions. And if you looked at any of the links that I sent from past articles about how to look for musicians, it's kind of the same spirit. One of the reasons that a keyboard player that's sitting in your congregation might not, want to tell anybody that he or she is a keyboard player is because every Sunday they can never hear the keyboard in the mix. It's always real quiet. And they're like, why would I join that? They're never going to hear me anyway, So a reason that somebody might not join is that the mix is bad. And you would never think that a bad mix is making somebody not want to join, but it's very true. So it's in that kind of spirit that I want us to talk about what is keeping us from being the kind of team that the kind of people that we're looking for are looking for? Is it my own sloppiness? Like, let's say I want somebody, like, what kind of a person are you looking for on your team? Lazy, disorganized, sloppy, mediocre, right? Like, no way, man. I don't want a lazy person, a mediocre musician. I don't want a gossiping, shallow Christian. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way looking for somebody like that, right? I want somebody who's fully committed, who's all in, who throws themselves into it, who's invested in their craft, who's great to be around, is just fun and has this great love for people, right? I mean, that's the kind of people that we're looking for always to join our team. And so think about, what is keeping my team from being more of that kind of team? And I think the statement I'm making behind my question is the best marketing and advertising, so to speak, for your team to draw new people in. The best attractor is to be a great team, is to focus my energy on just being awesome as a team. And so that's just going to mean that it really matters what we do on a weekly basis, that it really matters, how I spend my rehearsals, that it really matters what kind of information, how I set my team up to win, how I help them be ready by rehearsal, how I give them the information they need with plenty of time, how I care for them and shepherd them and pasture them, how I feed them and nourish them spiritually, how I require a lot out of them, really give them a place where their presence matters, makes a difference if they're there or not, and the way they show up makes a difference. So I don't want to get too philosophical because this is, I really want us to spend a good part of this conversation being practical, and I want to hear from you, kind of, where you're at, where you are right now with your team, what you'd like to grow and build, what you're hoping to unpack in a moment in this conversation. But that's the angle I want to take on the conversation. These are conversational gatherings, and I want us to actually work on stuff that you're working on. But it's from the angle of, okay, if we want to throw all of our energy into making our team the kind of team that people that we're looking for are looking for, what's the first step? What do we have to start doing? What do we have to stop doing? What do I have to do differently as a leader? What's going to be required of me and of us? So just maybe with that question in mind, what's the first thing that comes to your mind as you look at your own team and your own ministry and you say, man, if we were going to be the kind of team that people that we're looking for are looking for, what needs to stop and what needs to start? What are your thoughts? What pops to your mind?
I've been trying to do this discipline of not talking all the time. So I was going to wait until others responded, but I hate the dead silence. And so I can just share from my perspective. I think one of the things that our teams have to do that we often don't do is we need to be excellent if we want to attract excellence. And so that may mean that we prevent some people from doing certain things on the stage. If somebody's not a good singer, let's not have them sing. I don't want to value inclusion over excellence. And so because I don't want to do that, I may have to do something with my team and say, hey, Susie, can you work the soundboard this week instead of being a vocalist? I don't know what you do. And that's kind of one of the things I was hoping we'd talk about is how do you, if you already have a team that is not musically excellent, sometimes musicians say, I don't want to get into that because that doesn't sound good. And so we want it to be good enough that they want to join and make it better. But there's this value that we place on having 8 or 10 people on the stage over having 2 people. So what do we do with that? And how do you, if you already have a team that's like a little bit weak, what do you do with that? So.
Well, you're asking, this is exactly what happens to us as worship leaders, as worship ministry leaders. There's so much, we overcomplicate the issue so much that we can't move forward. And we get in despair and hopeless because we're like, well, look, you asked me the question, how do I make a team that people that we want to attract, that want to, that are looking for a team like ours? I don't like our team right now. Like I'm frustrated with the people that are on my team right now. And there's not a simple solution. There's not a let's fire everybody solution that we want to implement to make that better. And so it's almost like, okay, take separating the issues. Now I don't like it. And how do I, attract new people? And start looking a lot longer of a trajectory to say, okay, I have a team full of people who are okay at best, and that's very normal. So even as I say that, I have so many thoughts in my mind about context matters again. The reality is God has given you a certain group of people to accomplish a certain task, right? And for no matter how you've gotten to this point, today the Lord has entrusted you, has given you as a steward over these people, right? They're there, and maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe there's certain people that like you don't have the gift of singing, so why are you singing? And so it's your job to say, okay, over the next year, 3 years, how can we get to where we want to go? How can we become that kind of a team? How do I start saying, okay, you know what? Here's the range for what we're going to call acceptable to be on our team. And these are the 10 skills that are needed. You need to learn how to play with the click. You need to learn how to sing with the click, or sing in tune and sing in time and sing with a good blend and sing harmony and sing this, and get real specific. Here's our range. All right. Now let's talk about this team. Right now, you're right here. You're in, but barely. And that's I'm saying that because there's a long way to grow. If you're excited about that, if you're excited about growing, we have a plan. We're going to bring this vocal coach in, and we're going to work with you as a team, as a group of singers. We're going to watch these things online. We're going to do these different investments. We're just going to work at it. You're going to tell me what do you need to be more prepared? How can I help you learn to sing harmony? How can I help you learn to sing in tune and in time and all those things? I'm willing to do that part, but you need to know as a singer, if you're right here, if you're just barely in that skill set range, you're going to have to work real hard over the next 3 years to keep moving up. If that excites you, awesome. If you're like, nah, I'm okay with where I am, I don't think this is going to work out like long term. I'm not kicking you off, but I'm just saying this is where I want us to go. And if you want to go there, super. And if not, that's okay. There's lots of other needs in the church. Like we can help you figure that out. So I don't want to get too distracted with the excellence versus what was it? Excellence versus lots of people. Inclusion. That's right. But I also want to be sensitive to saying, like, listen, this is the church, and at the end of the day, I believe we're a disciple making machine. The people in your care are given to you so that you can make disciples out of them, not so you can have an amazing rock band. This is not a show. This is a hospital training ground disciple making machine, I think. And I get that every church has their standards, you know, and that's okay. But at the core of who we are as worship ministries, like, I think it's up to us to equip our people, to disciple our people. You know, but not everybody's ready to go there. I mean, I think the question that you asked, Kevin, is maybe a first tenet, if you will, of creating a team that the kinds of people that you're looking for are looking for. I had a friend who said, how did he put it? Something like, you can't complain about what you will tolerate.
That's a good word.
Right?
Wow.
And it's like, and he was talking about raising kids at that point. So it had nothing to do with worship ministry, except for everything to do with worship ministry. But it's true. We tolerate a whole lot in ourselves. Like, what are we okay with? What will we allow and tolerate for our own stuff? Like, do I prepare for rehearsal like I want my people to prepare? You know, I have to ask myself, I have to look in the mirror and say, I really mailed it in. I listened to it a little bit and I fudged my way through it. That culture is going to stick. You know, I'm going to tolerate, because what's going to happen is if Joe comes in and he's not really ready to play his electric guitar like he should, I will give him more grace than it would be helpful for his development for me to give him, because I didn't show up prepared either. You know? And so, yeah, I can't complain about what I tolerate. I have to look at myself and my team and go, man, what are the things, you know? Is it punctuality? Punctuality is not just, you know, it would be interesting to widen the conversation about punctuality to mean more than just if you showed up in time to have your stuff set up to be ready to go when we were going to start playing. You know, because if you're not ready, like, you don't know your part, you don't understand a song, you're so locked in to barely making it through the music that you can actually make music and listen to each other and be responsive and have the music feel alive. Like, if my only criteria for your timeliness or your promptness is if you showed up in time, you know, that's a pretty narrow look at our timeliness, at our punctuality. But if people are showing up late, you know, I put a sign-up sheet up. You know, every rehearsal, just have your clipboard out there, name and time you arrived. You know, and do that for 3 months and see if you still have punctuality problems. Because after a while, you can see, oh, Joe's always coming at 7:15, 7:18, 7:22, and we're supposed to be here at 7. What's up with that? Do we have to have a conversation? You know, is the peer pressure going to be enough?
Or is it I think come later?
Just because he's angry at that, and that's that's a discipleship conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Right. I think so. What I allow, you know, what I permit, and I think asking this question about, you know, what kind of a team, what just shoot out some answers quick. What kind of a team are the kinds of people that we're looking for? Just what's the obvious answers?
I think one where it looks like there's some space, but it doesn't look like there's desperation. I think there's a balance there.
By space, you mean like there's need for more people to join?
Yeah. I guess one of the things that I've been considering myself, and I'll keep this brief, but in the times where I've always had personnel filling every single role, whether it's, and maybe this is the double-edged sword, the same person playing bass, 3 out of 4 weeks on a Sunday, for example. But as long as there's been clear coverage, I've not had people approach me and say, hey, Matt, I'd like to be involved. And as soon as I demonstrated need, generally people will come forward. And it's not necessarily about an asking for the need, not about the approach itself, but I've definitely found, like, the one Sunday I played bass and I even said, hey, I'm not great at bass. I'm playing because no one else could play bass this week. That same Sunday, someone approached me and said, hey, I've been waiting for an opportunity. It looked like you guys always had coverage, so I wasn't about to approach it myself. That's anecdotal, I get it. But we demonstrated a need that day by me playing bass really poorly. And we got a better bassist than me playing, and then I could do the things that I do better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I think there's, there is a way that we try to do things, you know, that makes us look like we don't need you. You know, there's a culture that is too self-sufficient, is too done. You know, and sometimes that's at a church where it's the same 5 people on the team every week of the year, you know, and that but that can even look that way when you have more people and, you know, a rotation of people. But demonstrating a need, I think that's a value. It's the value behind that statement, behind that story, is that that I can meet, if I'm looking, you know, I can meet a need, a real need. I can help out. My presence can matter.
Right. And doing so in a way that doesn't make them then feel captive to being slaved like that guy that was serving 3 out of 4 weeks on a Sunday, if it's not their heart's desire to do so. So creating there's a space, there's an opportunity without necessarily demonstrating neediness or
right.
Whatever else. I think that you can get into a place that you feel pretty captive as a volunteer, and we want to make sure we free up people to feel like that the occasional use of their talent is going to give them the opportunity to bless the church rather than compulsion.
Yeah. I know we've all heard the horrible pleas, and probably said them ourselves, you know, the pleas for, you know, the desperation for more people.
Yeah, that's really what I was hoping today to have a little bit of a clarity of, you know, if the effective techniques. But I think ultimately what you're pointing us toward is one of the most effective ways to get and retain quality volunteers is to ultimately be the sort of ministry that they want to be a part of.
Yeah. I mean, it's an irresistibility thing. You know, it's like, why do people want to work at certain companies? It's because it's great to work there, you know, and they don't have to do the marketing, you know, and the asking. They have to turn people away. And I think we can spend some really great energy and thoughts and say, okay, what kind of a team do we really want to create, so that the people that we're looking for are just be like, oh man, how do I get in? So great. So what else would you characterize the kind of ministry that the people that we're looking for are looking for?
First, I guess I should just say hello. It's my first time jumping onto one of these calls, so I just I attended a workshop, I think, with Dave at Worship Leader Conference this summer and enjoyed that, and thought,
oh, cool,
jump on and say hello. So, but anyway, I'm a worship pastor here in Wisconsin, and love connecting with other worship leaders. So, but yeah, I think as far as that question goes, quality attracts, I think, is just the summary. So quality, first impressions. You know, one thing that we've noticed here is that, and I'm sure as you all have during the pandemic, most people's first impressions maybe were an online service. And so for us, that online mix is their first impression of how we sound. And that's one thing that I realized that was not good. It sounds great in the room, but if you're watching online, not at all the same, and that's their first impression. So we've worked hard this past year on getting that improved, and just so people's first impressions of the team itself would be a positive one. But aside from that, just if they see the team, having fun together, a team that loves one another, that gets along well one another, I think that attracts people to want to be part of that team. We've had a lady in our church who used to be on the team several years ago, left for a while, has been back, for about maybe 6 months or so. And I've seen her out there, but she hasn't connected with us at all. But she just emailed me last week and said, I've been watching the team. I've noticed, just appreciate the song selection, different things. I'd like to get involved. So whether we know it or not, people are always watching, like Dave said, and we're always communicating something, whether we want to or not. So just being aware of all that.
Yep, that's good. I'd like us to unpack what you said at first. Quality attracts. Quality is a funny thing, right? It's too slick. It starts looking like a show, and you're just like, meh. I'm not really drawn to that. Or it seems too foreboding. But there's a certain quality that musicians who love to play and who I don't know, maybe can you describe more of what you mean by that quality? Just put some more meat to it.
I think I first heard that phrase from Tony Guerrero. He's got a book, Attracting Quality Musicians. And that's one thing that's just the phrase that I think he used in there. And that just stuck with me because, we've had several new families come to our church throughout the whole pandemic, just because I think we were one of the few churches that we didn't stay open, but we opened up pretty early. And families wanted to be in church. And so we got a lot of new families, added several new people to the team. But one of the things that I was just been thinking about, like for our bass player, we had a new bass player. I think he felt comfortable coming forward just because he saw somebody else. He did see the need for one thing, but then he also saw a good quality bass player already on the team, someone who was competent, not excellent, not showstopper. But I think when people see a team that puts effort into doing what they do well, that attracts those who really want to do something well. If they see a team up there that's really half-hearted, both in their facial expressions, their appearance, their preparation, that's not attractive to people who really want to do a good job. So when somebody sees someone doing things really well, they want to be part of that. So I guess that's what I mean by quality attracts.
Yeah, for sure. I just, because I've seen so many different kinds of churches and teams, and some churches never even aspire, if you will, to sound great. Like they actually would say things like, well, we don't do it like the professionals do it, which I interpret as an understandable statement of a real lack of confidence, a very intimidated kind of statement, because we all want to work hard to create what we do. Like there's a certain I think stewardship built into us to say, let's do, excellence is the moving scale, right? It's the best that I can do with what I have currently. And that's always going to be moving up. For me, if my excellence level is the same today as it was 5 years ago, I'm not excellent anymore. I'm starting to shift towards mediocrity. But there's something that you said that transcends the actual musical, qualitative. Like you can assess. I put the musician self-evaluation form as one of the links because it has such teeth. It has such clarity to say, can I do this? Can I do this? Do I have this skill? Can I, it's not, am I a good bass player? No, it's like, can I play with a click? Yes or no? Not that I have to play with the click, but being able to master my instrument in such a way that allows me to lock into a common groove. If I can't do that, how am I ever going to play with a band? How am I going to lock with another group of people? There's intonation, there's timing, there's phrasing, there's feels, there's styles, there's all kinds of skills. And it matters less how much each individual churches are doing this, where we are on that quality scale, on that perceptible, like, oh, you guys sound like professionals or whatever. You guys sound like the recording. Oh, that's amazing. But what is perceptible, I think across the board, and you alluded to this, is this thing of being all in. And that being all in, hey, Louis, hold on a second. Louis, thank you. Thanks. Okay. Got to keep this rooster under wraps because otherwise he just annoys me. See? He's going every chance he gets. Anyway, but there's what words would you guys use to describe a team who's all in, who's completely given to what they're doing? Available.
I think it comes down to making themselves available, right? You put up too many blockouts on Planning Center, and it may just be a busy person, but it may actually just demonstrate someone who really wants everything on their terms, and they may not be all in. So you're talking about schedule availability. Yeah, a desire to participate. Yeah. So, that's definitely part of that. When you said available, I started thinking about emotionally vulnerable or available to make themselves be used, be seen, be a model, be a resource, available to help other musicians. There's so many ways that people can be available, but that's certainly a marker of all in. What else? What other words come to mind or descriptions?
Energetic. They're not lethargic. They're happy to be there, and they express that. So maybe expressive too. I don't know. Yeah, I love energetic because that is an outward description of an inward reality, right? Because if you're just and you're not feeling it, they're not energetic. They're weird and like cheerleadery, and you can tell. But there's an energy that just, they might be the bass player who's like super cool and is just grooving, but just a little head thing that they do, they close in their eye. They're just, they might not look like a flashy, but there's energy coming from them. They're energetic and just what they bring, and the way they attack, the way they articulate the notes, and the way they hold the bass, and the way they just do their thing. I can look at a bass player and be like, you're not a bass player, just by the way they're holding the instrument, just by their approach. I'm just like, this is Kevin's maybe laughing because I have this one of my utter disdains is like the bass player that's been the same level of mediocrity for 15 years. I'm just like, I just want to kick him, it gets so annoying. I'm like, come on, dude, you all in, be energetic, bring, grow. Anyway, energetic. Good. That's good. But I think the energetic really does say you have to let it out, and you have to have something to let out.
Yeah, I think I was going to say also you have to have it be an authentic letting out, not a forced, or like you said, the guy that's just weird because he's like fake happy or fake energetic. That's no good. So I'm not sure how you teach energetic or how you teach authentic except to model it and to talk about it and get people to be themselves. But I think certain environments restrict that. I noticed that at my own church where I was not the leader recently, where I was called on to do something and I thought, man, this feels really restrictive because I got to be in like 15 seconds. I got to do this, and everything's on a schedule, and everything is so ordered that I didn't feel free to be myself. So I would have to plan what I was going to say ahead of time, and I couldn't be relaxed and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a thing that we can create atmospherically that would help people to be authentic, and all the qualities that we want to be displayed, we want them to be real, not just put on. So authentic is another word. It's kind of what I was.
Kevin, out of curiosity, what did you do for 15 seconds? I can't imagine anyone would ask anyone to do something.
It might be like a welcoming the people who are watching online, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But we would do like, there would be like, we'd be on a track for the song, and there's a 15-second lead in, and then I've got to start reading the first verse of the song. And there was no flexibility about, hey, if what you're saying takes an extra 2 seconds, the whole thing is wrecked, so that's the kind of thing. So, as a non-advocate of tracks, I would probably say I don't like tracks for that reason, but I totally get the value, and I'm not a anti-traxer, as you might say.
Anti-traxer. Okay, that's going to be a new fertilizer. Anti-traxer. That's hilarious, dude. No, I'm a pro-traxer who doesn't like rambling worship leaders.
Oh, I don't either.
I never ramble. Have you guys all like sat down, like used the live streams that you have so many of now, and sat down with your teams, like not just like staff, but like the people on the team, and just talked about it, like turned off the music and just watched it in high speed and see what you look like? Have you guys used that as a tool?
Mm-mm. Yeah, no.
Can you speak to that? What are you looking for? What would you value there?
It's too painful. Well, a couple of things. One is none of us realize what we do over and over, like our tics, if you will. Like, and we all do things. We're all weird in some way. Every one of us, every one of our team. I like to separate things to be able to focus on certain things. So if you want to say, hey, look, it's a very different, this is an artificial experience to watch a recording. We're not in the room. We're not worshiping. It's going to feel different. We're going to pick it apart in ways that we never should when we're there, right? So we're going to turn off the sound, and we're just going to watch. We're just looking for body language, because everything communicates, right? Body language communicates. Our facial expression communicates. And so we're going to watch as a team. What do you notice? No sound. We're not worshiping along. We're not singing along. We're just watching these people do their thing.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the best tools we have to really have. Before it was just all audio that we had, at least in our context. And what I've noticed more and more and more is we're not going to be anti-music stand anytime soon, but the way that you utilize your music stand and you use your sheet music or you use your chord charts as either a guide or as a crutch. And I think that's more evident than ever, because you can really look and say, hey, that guy has not looked up from his paper in 3 minutes, or for example.
Yeah.
And that person might be me. Let's just throw it all out there. And it's, I get it on a Getty song or a hymn where every word is a different chord or something, but there's not a lot of songs that require that kind of intense focus, at least in the realm of contemporary Christian, if that's your backbone. So that's been one of the things that you can do, like you said, with the sound off until immediately. If they're not giving any upward look toward either the congregation or the confidence monitor on the back wall, I mean, that's one of the best things we can do for ourselves, is give ourselves something to look at out there, but hopefully also engage the congregation, because we're doing something together, right? We're 5 to 10 people on a stage doing something with everyone else in the congregation, ultimately supporting the voice of the congregation. I think is one of the primary goals of the gathering and the worship. So I think, again, that if it's always that disconnect between me and the paper, even for a good reason, it's going to come off poorly, I think.
Matt, one of the things too about getting rid of the music stands and then go into the confidence monitor on the back wall, I think sometimes people think that, oh, it's on the back wall, so I can just stare at that thing instead of you can tell when they're doing that too. So that still has to be let's look at it, let's glance away, or let's use it in the same way we should use our music stands. And it's sort of, I think sometimes when we get those confidence monitors at first, we look back there and say, oh, this is nice. Now I can just look, everybody will think I'm just looking up, but it's still really obvious when people stare at it. And so just something to put in your back of your mind when you do that.
Say, Dave, we, because the vocalists were using music stands like right in front of us at first. And so when I'd have a new song, even for myself, if I didn't spend enough time practicing that, I would be really dependent on that stand. And then I put my stand away. I took that away. It's behind me in case now the screen goes down because I can't remember lyrics to save my life. And now my vocalist, they have it to the side. It's still there. But once I had to taken that out of the way, it really kept me accountable. And I had to make sure I knew the song. And so, yeah, I don't know why I told you that.
Well,
but
that comes back to preparation then, right?
Yeah,
That
right.
creates accountability. You can't be sloppy, right? So quality is going to matter more because you don't have that safety net.
Right. So yeah, it made a big difference once we started doing that. And so even my instrumentalists, even though they still use a stand, I think because we modeled that, it did help bring a little bit better quality to the, I hate to say performance, but engagement. We were able to engage better. So, and we've really been working hard on that too. So anyway.
Yeah. No, that's very true. It's a very real effect of not having that crutch in front of you. Mm-hmm. And that's, the times that I've watched myself, critically saying, okay, what do I look like as a worship leader? I'm like, oh, stop looking at your stand. Stop looking at your stand. Stop looking at the stand already. Like you're like yelling at the screen. Come on. For sure. This is a slightly tangential thought, but I was thinking the other day, I was at a church that they didn't have a screen, no lyrics, which is not as uncommon here as it is in the States. But it drove me nuts because I think I might have heard of one of the songs before. So I was just like, and the sound was, anyway, you couldn't follow the lead singer either. And it was just two singers on a guitar. It was just terrible. Anyway, but that got me thinking about projection and how vital it is to the congregation being able to engage. We don't think about that as often because we're always up on the platform. But I was like, what if nobody had stands, you had monitors, you had a way to see the lyrics, but the lyrics it was like whatever's on the screen is on your screen. I mean, I love Peckways where I got used to using the pro presenter, the display. What's it called?
Stage send or something like that. Stage display.
Yeah, stage display. And I just like the lyrics are there in white, nothing else, and the next line of the next slide is in yellow. Oh, love it, right? But what if wouldn't, like, as a way of caring for our congregations, because like there's so much problem with lyrics being late, right? Mm-hmm. Like you would fix that pretty quick if you're like, we're just waiting for the lyrics to come up. Like I don't know what to sing. If I was relying on it like everybody else in the room is relying on it, anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
side thought.
Yeah, and that's how ours currently is set up. We never did send a separate send to our rear projector. But you're right. I still have the crutch of the sheet music in front of me, so I can still cheat down to the lyric. I do find the majority of the time, it's like Murphy's Law, right? The majority of the time when I want to look out, that's when the failure happens. It's not happening any other time. But when I'm looking at the paper, we're just fine. So But like you said, how much more will you be helpful to correct and direct the projectionist, whatever we want to use as the term there, to help them understand how important it is, because it's not just on the congregation, it's also on the team, and there's a direct feedback loop there. It's something we've grown in and have probably still some room to grow.
Yeah.
So, Dave, you said like at the beginning, we started talking about having a team that other people want to be part of, and that's kind of our main way of attracting new people. Are there other things that we can do that are like mechanical, like put a thing in the bulletin? What do you churches don't even have bulletins now anymore, probably. What else can you do?
Well, two things pop to mind, and they are mechanical, as you call them. So one is you have to make a clear, easy process to join. What are the steps? Who do I talk to? What happens after I say, hey, I'm interested? Do you just show up and you start playing? Is it a 6-month wait? Do you have to go through 7 interviews? Do you have to audition? Like, what are the steps? Are they clear? Are they easy? Can you go through them? Is it enough out of you that it's actually not so difficult that it's just like daunting and like, oh, okay, well, I have to, like, what is it? Do you have a clear process? You have to have a process. You have to think through, okay, I'm new at this church. I don't know anybody, but I'm a bass player and I'd love to serve. How do I know what to do? I have to look at the process from somebody who knows nothing about us as a church, nothing about us as a team. I mean, you might have some people who have been in the church for a long time, but I want to look at it from that perspective and say, I know nothing. Guide me through it. Make the sales process so easy that I don't have to burn any calories in my brain trying to figure out what to do. So is my process really clear? What's required of me? That whole thing. What are you gonna say?
I was just going to ask, is that something you would furnish to someone who is interested? Or is that something that you would actually make public before anyone would even demonstrate interest? What's your thought on that, David?
I don't see any reason why you couldn't make it public. It's like, how do you join? If and when you're ever interested in joining. I mean, some people might be saying, seeing that there's a pathway to join might tell somebody, oh, they're looking for people. I didn't know that. It might tell them, oh, they had written themselves off as there's no way I could ever join. I probably have to be, I have to have a degree in music to be on the team. You don't know what people are thinking. They're thinking all kinds of crazy stuff. Right. So if the more information that's out there that's available, yeah, man, that's great. It builds familiarity to the process. If and when they say, you know what, I've been thinking about this for a while and I think it's time. I mean, I know how to do it. So, and that would be the best thing. If somebody says, I've been coming here for a year and I've been thinking about it. I always knew exactly what to do. You're like, you did? Oh, that's great. And now I'm going to do it. Okay, cool. Let's get you in there. And you can, don't be overcomplicated, but be thorough in that process. But just have a process. So many places never plan to grow. It's like if you had 15 people show up and say, hey, listen, we'd like to get involved. You'd be like, oh, well, okay, what do I do? You should have a plan. You should have a process, make it thorough, make it good, make it like your church. So have a process. And the other thing that I like to do is get specific with your prayer and with your team. I don't like, I don't like generic calls for, new people because it doesn't work as well as, hey guys, Joe's going to be moving to another town and, he's our second drummer and we need another drummer. Would you pray together, asking the Lord for a drummer who loves Jesus, who has great time, who can play without a cage like Tekwe does? Do you still play without a cage?
We do.
That's just amazing. I love that. Cage free, baby. You should.
Best
Sorry,
eggs.
I'm so excited. You should. I'm gonna create and order a sticker that says cage free, and you can put it on your kick drum.
Yeah.
So awesome. Oh, I love it. Sorry, I cracked myself up. But get real specific. Get so specific that this kind of a drummer with this kind of a heart, with this kind of availability. We want somebody that can play twice a month, who has great timing, who's in love with Jesus, who has a great family life. Let's pray together and believe God for that specific person. Like as a team, like let's do this together. And yeah, you know what? If you know somebody, you're going to start asking that person, because like, man, when he was describing that drummer, I thought about you. Is there any way that you're interested? I mean, that's a whole different level of that's beautiful. So just getting real specific and getting prayerful as a team. Hey, until we see the Lord provide for this, guys, we're gonna be praying regularly at the beginning of most rehearsals. We're gonna pray and ask the Lord for the players that we're looking for.
If I already have a team that's a weak team, let's say maybe I even created it, I allowed it to happen, and I've got a team that I wish some of the people I didn't have, or something like that. Or I wish I could like start over and revamp my team. Is there a way to do that? Like say, hey, we're going to re-audition everyone. You can see if you keep your job, or like exactly what would you do? Like sometimes people come into a job and they inherit a team, and
Sure.
they're like, I came into a job one time and I inherited a team that was pretty weak. And the pastor said, please don't come in and fire everyone right away just because they're no good. Okay. So then, like you said, it's who you have to work with. But like if you have a team and we're saying that quality and a good team is what is going to attract another good team person to come.
Yeah.
How do we deal with an existing already not great team, other than try to make them better, which of course is obvious? Is there any other thing you can do?
Well, my first question is, Pastor Joe, how is it that if you know that they're no good, that you let them stay on that team? I mean, is that part of our church culture? Are we a no good church?
It could be, right? That we're like,
no, I mean, I'm being tongue in cheek, but it's a serious question.
Yeah, it is.
Like it wasn't that pastor's doing, it was the past leader's doing.
Right.
But it was under that pastor's leadership. Does he? Because I need to know what he's thinking.
Right.
Because if the team is okay as it is, and I want to spend money to develop them, they're fine. There's no money available for that. If there's not a value for excellence from the pastor, like it's going to be real hard to make any changes. And just like, so wait, let me just say this out loud. You're okay if we stay mediocre for the next 5 years, right? Like that's okay with you? Like kind of where we are right now is we're good.
Well, it's always a little more complicated than that, though. It's like that, the drummer is the associate pastor's son.
Right.
And the singer, the vocalist that can't do harmony and can't really sing solo, can't carry the lead, is like an important person in the church. She's if she's not happy, a lot of people are going to hear about it. So it's like I said, it's more complicated than, do you want this to be better or don't you? So that's kind of the question I have. The other thing is the loyalty thing, where maybe when I inherited these people, one of them was a family who was basically carrying the whole load of leading worship for 5 or 6 years while they had no one. And so there was this like, well, we don't want, and like 3 of the 5 were no good. It's like, I shouldn't say no good. They had issues, put it that way. And so there was this loyalty factor from the pastor. That's why he said, don't come in and just get rid of people because they don't meet a standard. So, that's what I'm kind of wondering. How do you navigate that, the intricacies of the politics that can be involved in the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, here's the Sunday school answer, and it's the right answer, right? Typing in a verse here so I can quote it to you verbatim. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things, there is no law, right? I love the direction that gives us. We have so much freedom. We can go as far and as hard as we want to in this direction. In these characteristics, in this evidence that we are being led by the Spirit of God, we can go as far as we want to. So I want to find out, okay, help me know, Pastor, where are we headed? Where would you like us to go in terms of our musical sound quality? Do you want us to grow? I have this belief system based on Matthew 25 that says I am supposed to double my talent. Like what the Lord entrusts to me, I need to make that grow. There's a scripture about that. That's true in musicianship, in our worship team also. So I would like us to start growing. I would like us to start improving who we each bring to the table. And so I'm going to start doing that. We're going to sit down together and say, hey, it can be as simple as, let's just sit down, share the story from Matthew 25 of the talents. There's a principle that says that I'm responsible to grow. And so here's a list, and I want you to go and evaluate yourself. I don't even care for the first year. I'm not even going to evaluate you. Just you evaluate yourself. Just start thinking about this. If Oscar, I'm trying to talk here, buddy. On a personal level, I just want you to start thinking about these are my growth edges. This is where I want to feel. And here's what I've learned over years of coaching teams that are I don't like to say things like, let's get better, let's improve. I want to say, because that to some people is like, wait, that then you're saying that I'm not good. You're saying that I'm bad. If I need to get better, you're saying I'm bad. Like, that's not true. Well, I mean, it might be true, but that's not my heart in that. So I say things like, I want you to feel more confident, and I want you to feel more comfortable. Because in my head, because when you're better, when your timing is better, you're going to flow better. When your pitch is better, you're going to lock better with the other singers. When you're more prepared, you're going to be more confident. And so I want you to feel more confident, and I want you to feel more comfortable, because I want you to be relaxed, man. You know how bad the music is when the band is not relaxed, playing their thing, and everybody's trying not to mess up. No, you want a relaxed band. You want a comfortable. You want them like so relaxed. You're like, are you guys smoking back there? Because you guys are so like, there's just no like pressure in you. Sorry, let's edit that one out there. But I want teams that are comfortable are looking at each other, are smiling, having a good time. That's what we're talking about, right? Because they're comfortable and because they're confident. They're not intimidated by the music they're trying to do. There's a level of like, yeah. And so I think it's my belief that everybody on my team wants to be more confident and more comfortable. So that's how I'm going to talk about it, rather than getting better, improving, increase your excellence. Okay. But like, so I need to start introducing this idea that each one of you is responsible for your own growth. And my responsibility is to support you in that, is to help you feel more confident and more prepared and more comfortable and confident. So how can I support you then? What can I do to help you feel more confident and comfortable as a drummer? That can be my role. I'll put that on me, right? So it's a long process. It's not going to happen tomorrow, and then, methodologically, that's maybe not even a word, you know, just the idea of, you know, we can tend to flip a switch and say, okay, we're going to get better now. I mean, we're going to get more confident now. And we're going to start doing all these things. And we're going to start, you know, and you start freaking people out and overwhelming them. So the way I implement this every time is if I'm working on my team, man, we're going to do, if we're doing 5 songs on Sunday, we're going to do 4 songs just like we always do. And we're going to work on one little skill in one song for this Sunday. You know, maybe it's let's say we don't play with click yet, right? And so for this one song, only at rehearsal, only 2 times, we're going to play it with the click. And then we're going to turn the click off and we're going to play it again and relax. And that's all we're just pumping our muscles a little bit. We're just trying to grow and get better, you know, or if it's,
you're gonna let them know that before they come to rehearsal too.
that was the shepherd talking right there. I don't think everybody read that. Was that long enough?
That was too fast.
Yep, too quick.
Put it up again, you
I'm sorry.
boy. Oh, that one cracks me up.
Here we go.
Terrible, Kevin.
That's good.
That's funny.
That's funny.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop that.
All right. Sometimes it's the way we all feel, but that was a very shepherd fader comment, Matt, because that's very true. Like I would never think about that because my shepherd fader is the lowest, so I'm not considering the individual. I'm not thinking about that. Add that to the fact that I'm super okay with last minute changes. I'm super okay with spontaneous in the moment. I mean, ad lib, like that's my deal, right? So why would I need to tell anybody that we're going to do this fun thing? Oh, some people were like, some people would see that and they'd be like, yeah, decline on playing center. Reason given, I'm going to be out of town. Seriously though,
that's a good point. I mean, I'm telling you something that I've only learned because I've had people come back to me saying that would help me, right? I mean, I'm probably more wired like you, Dave, in that regard, which often looks like you would describe, you know, ad lib, go with the flow. It can look sloppy is the answer, especially to an untrained observer that doesn't understand my heart. But I'll never let them get a chance to get to that point if all they ever see is what they perceive as didn't plan through, didn't communicate well ahead of time, and all of that, right? Those are the things that I know in my personal temperament I have to address and almost kind of just change behaviorally, knowing that I can make a plan to act like someone different, knowing that I'm going to be able to help someone be better. And it pays dividends for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we should wrap up here. My hope is that you walk away from this and think for a bit, like, okay, what kind of team you answer the good question. What kind of team do we need to become so that the people that we're looking for are looking for a team like ours? And you know, that process might take you to say, okay, you know what? Let me ask my team, guys, you know, why do you think more people don't join us? I mean, you'll be surprised because some people will be like, well, I've been telling you this, or I've been meaning to tell you this, you know, I hate that we, you know, and it's actually going to increase the level of bought inness and the level of enjoyment for your current team members, right? They get a chance to say, oh, you know what? Well, but if you ask them, hey, tell us what to improve about our team, that's different. But that little removal of saying, if somebody was going to join our team, why do you think they wouldn't do it? You know, it's like, oh, well, you're answering for them. I'm not saying this, but they probably wouldn't like that. They probably wouldn't feel comfortable that we get the music 2 days before rehearsal. You know, you're like, oh, Duly noted. It's going to, go up to a week now or 2 weeks. Ask somebody in your church, somebody who's not a musician, say, hey, you know what? If let's pretend that you had a son who was a drummer, or let's pretend that you were in a garage band back in the day, and you wanted to get involved in worship ministry. Would you know how to do that? Like the non-music person, just ask, get some of that feedback to find out what, do you have a good process or not, or is it non-existent? But I think that's, if there's a magic pill, a silver bullet, to adding people to your ministry, it's about being irresistible. It's about being one that people want to come to, the kinds of people that, I think, Kevin, you went there at the beginning when you said, the excellence versus inclusion question. If I don't begin to take steps to make our team attractive to the kinds of people that we want, then it's just not going to happen. You're going to get stuck in that spot, and it's going to be really difficult to change. So good energy into saying, okay, who do we want to become? Is a great place to go. Cool. Man, it's been fun seeing y'all today. So three states and 2 countries. Well, unless you count Texas as a country, then it'd be 3 countries.
Leaving the union. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'm going to